A lot of artists struggle with just how to start creating a comic. So I'm going to give you my number one bit of advice, and I'm going to show you an interesting way that'll help you get started. Greetings everyone, welcome to the underground lair where we bring our creations to life. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. I'm a professional illustrator, designer, and mad creator. I also create comics. I have been a lifelong comic book fan, both reading comics and creating them ever since I can remember. I do talk a lot about comics on this channel, and because of that, I have a lot of people that want to create comics, and they're kind of struggling. Some of them are struggling with just, how do I get started? I hear this all the time, and it is kind of intimidating if you haven't started a comic, because honestly it's a lot of work, but there are things you can do to make it a little easier. We're going to talk about one of those things, but first, before we do that, I want to talk about my comic book Young and the Dead, because I am going to be later this month, this is July as I'm putting this up, if everything works out later this month, I'll be launching a Kickstarter for the latest issue of my comic book Young and the Dead. It is a kids versus zombie adventure story. It's in the vein of Goonies and Night of the Living Dead, so if you're into Goonies or Monster Squad, E.T., even Stranger Things, you'll probably dig it. And there's going to be some cool variant covers, and you'll be able to get, if you're new to it, you'll be able to get all the different issues. If you already have some of them, like I said, there's other versions, variant covers, and there's the new issue number 5 that's going to be out. So I'm going to be talking about that as we go on, as we get into that, but it's coming. So I just want to let you know about that. If you are watching if you're watching this video a year from now, probably not going to help you out, although the issues will be available on my website. I don't know about the variant covers, but the standard issues will. So just wanted to mention that. But like I said, I've been working on this comic book for a while, and I did in the beginning. I had trouble starting a comic. I had worked on a couple other titles that I was trying to get off the ground, and it was just me kind of redoing things over and over again. And like I said, it never launched. I've got comic ideas that I started that never finished, and it wasn't until this one, Young and the Dead, that I kind of changed my mindset, and I was able to complete the first issue and then the second issue and all of that. So, and that really is my number one bit of advice, is to start small, because when I started Young and the Dead, it was just an 8-pager, because a lot of people, they want to create this graphic novel, this massive, in this whole universe of characters and everything, and that's great, but that is really hard if that's your first, if right out the gate, if that's what you're trying to do. So I always recommend just do a 4-page story, and you've heard me talk about this if you watch this channel all the time, but I've got something, a little different take, even less than those 4 pages that I usually recommend. And it's something that I hadn't seen done before, and it's pretty brilliant. So I'm going to get into that. And in doing so, I want to talk about some indie comics that I got in the mail. And one of these is the one that inspired this whole video. So let me first pull these out. I want to show you, just because I always like to give shout outs to some indie creators. So this is a collection of indie comics that I got off a Kickstarter. And I don't know the entire story. I believe there was a publisher that may have went out of business, or there was maybe something shady going on. I've heard kind of bits and pieces, but I don't know the whole thing, and it sounds like a lot of drama that I don't want to get into, but I am into the comics. So anyway, a lot of these creators got together, they ran a Kickstarter, and it was really a great deal. And if I can remember, I don't know if you can still get these, if they have like I don't know, but I'll see if I can find out where you can get these after the Kickstarter, now that it's over and everything. But it wasn't even really that, I don't think I paid a whole lot for it, but all these different titles, and they all look great. The first one is a single issue of Only Death Can Save Us by my friend Russ Leach, who I've got his collected edition, and then I know he was planning on putting out an ongoing series. I think he may still be doing that, but when I got these, I got that from him. Really cool to see it, because I'm a fan of floppy comics, so I like to get these floppy comics. And then I just want to kind of show, I'll just hold some of these up, and maybe we'll kind of zoom into some of these. But these other titles, I haven't got a chance to read them yet. But they look great, all of them, and they're all different. So that's the kind of thing I like. I like when companies, comic book companies, or in this case, a collection of people come together to create comics. So I just wanted to kind of show these off. I was just happy to get these in the mail. Just looks like some great stuff. But the one that I did get in the mail, like I said, that sparked this whole idea was this one right here. So this is a comic by Chris Rauchman, who had sent me this book. He sent me a couple copies of these. He reached out to me and he explained kind of what he was doing. And it wasn't until I actually got it in the mail where I was like, oh man, this is brilliant. This is such a great idea. And because of that, like I said, it inspired me to kind of relay kind of what he's doing for other people that may be struggling to start their own comic. But it is called the one-page comic extravaganza, and that's what it is. It is just a series of one-page comics. And what a great way to kind of get started. Even if those four pages that I usually recommend, a smaller comic, is a little intimidating, a one-pager. Now, sometimes I do get people saying, how do you do a smaller comic? Because everyone's just kind of got their eyes set on these big ideas, and how do I condense it all in? I mean, generally, like with a 4-pager, you can still do, the beginning, middle, and end, just like you would a typical comic. It's really not all that different. You have your problem, then you have the action, and then the resolution, and you can kind of condense that into a 4-page story. And you could also do it in a 1-page story. Or what I'm looking at with Chris's work, it seems like just these little ideas that come in your head. So anytime you get a great idea, just jot it down. And it doesn't, some of them, it's sort of like an observation. So when you're out in the world and an idea pops in your head, write that down and keep a notebook or something of all your ideas, and just see how can I break this down into a simple story. And Chris does an amazing job with this, and I'll kind of flip through some of this. The thing that really impressed me the most is just the various styles and mediums that he used creating this comic. And that's something that I think would serve everyone else. It's just a way to keep it fresh, because you've got all these different ideas, and just the way he presents each of them, I mean, very different. Like some of them it looks like it's painted, some of it looks like it may be digital, and the style itself is very different. So I'm sure he approached each comic with like this unique idea, and it really comes across great. And it's just I'm surprised I haven't seen more of these, and if there are more of those out there, I don't know about them. This is the first comic of this kind that I've seen by a single creator creating all these 1-page stories. And I think there's a few of them that may go 2 pages. For the most part, they're 1-page stories, and it's just a pleasure to read, because it's like just this. And they're all, like I said, all different ideas and everything. So I just lit up when I saw this, and I'm like, oh, this is just a brilliant way, and this is something I'm going to be mentioning this in the future, because I'm always telling people, oh, just start with a small comic. But I never thought about starting with just a 1-pager. And the thing that's great is that I think this is Chris's COVID project. So when he was, when the world was shut down, he just decided to do these, and I could just see kind of cranking one of these out after another. And then the great thing about this is, sure, a 1-page comic is simple. What are you going to do with a 1-page? But if you do another one and another one, you can collect it in a book like this. So I just thought this was just an awesome idea that I wanted to share with you guys, just as an idea of another way to approach comics, especially if you're having trouble. Where do I start? If it feels really intimidating, I mean, how hard is a 1-pager? And once you get that 1 page, the whole idea is that when you start on these smaller projects and you get them done, you have that sense of accomplishment, and then you can say, oh, what's the big, I've done one before, I can do another one. And if you've done a 1-page, you can do another 1-page. Or if you've done a 4-pager, well, I'll do an 8-pager next. And then by the time you get in the habit of creating comics, then you move on to your big graphic novel, which a lot of people, that's what they're shooting for. But again, I always recommend start small, and these 1-page comics are just a brilliant way to do that. So thanks for Chris for sending this out my way. I really enjoy it, and I hope it inspires other people to take that step. And it doesn't have to be a huge step into creating comics. I will see you guys later, but before I go, Let me know what you think about this idea. Are you guys struggling with starting comics? And hopefully this will help out. But again, I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at Serkworks on social media. And now you can support the work that I do on Patreon. Do you like making comics? Then go to Serkworks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more. And best of all, it's totally free.